Welcome to my latest conversation. This time, I am very happy to be talking with Sabine Thomas, who, like me, may not sound innately South African, but is very much rooted here. Welcome, Sabine. Thank you for joining us.
Bonjour, good afternoon.
I am curious. I know that you have a lot of things that you do. How do you introduce yourself to people? What do you tell people you do?
Usually I just tell them that I'm a healer and I'm French. English is not my first language. And I'm based in South Africa for the past 32 years already. And I also host group energy transfers that are free, that are online on Zoom. And I've been doing it for years now, since COVID. Before I was offering them daily, and now I do it twice a week online. It runs every Monday and every Thursday. It's at 10:20 in the morning, and this is my way to serve and to send energy to groups. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Morocco, Tunisia, South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, France, England, Canada. I have a lady that puts an alarm at 1 o'clock in the morning to be on the energy transfer. It's just amazing. Same for Australia. And people are logging in, and then I do a 3-minute transfer of energy.
The beauty of the internet. People talk about all the problems with it, but on the other hand, there are a lot of good things that happen too. And that's how I got to know you, through your work. I want to talk about that a little bit more. But first, let me ask you this. This is the work that you do and freely offer, which is a wonderful thing. Um, what does so with Odyssey Magazine, the tagline that we're using now is exploring consciousness. Obviously, that's one way to explore consciousness. What does it look like for you, like in your day-to-day life? How do you define that?
In the past, it was about searching, it was about investigating, it was about traveling the world. And I've been lucky enough to travel for the past 40 years, meeting lots and lots of different masters. I went to India, I spent months with monks, with masters. I went to meditate on Ice Rock with the Aborigines people. I did Venda initiation, some West African initiation when I was working in Burkina Faso. I went to South America. I mean, I was lucky enough to go and meet all those amazing masters all over the world and to ask them the same questions. How do we heal? How
Mhm.
do we express our latent abilities? How do we feel better when we did experience trauma in childhood, in young adult age? What are the practical ways to feel better? And I was so privileged to be able to travel the world and ask them the same questions. And these meetings and gatherings, and I did follow a few masters for years. I had a Vietnamese master. I did follow him for 20 years. He was just amazing. He was only speaking Vietnamese, and he
Mm.
was translated in French and in English, and I would communicate with him. And it was really an amazing time in my life to learn from like amazing people that were able to heal others.
Isn't it fascinating how language becomes not a barrier when you're working in this realm, when you're sharing about this? I've always been fascinated by this, how language just doesn't get in the way.
100%. It was the case with the few masters that I was privileged to learn from, but it's also the case when I'm sending energy online. I mean, I have people, some of them don't even speak English, some of
Mhm.
them speak French. People are coming and they just feel. It's like they feel something is happening. Some of them see the energy, some of them smell the energy, some other are really perceiving something is happening, and here there's no language. There's no language barrier.
I was just talking about this with Kanchana. Mudler, who did the Mind Matters Summit, we were just saying about this. It's we are so trained as human beings to lead everything with our mind. So that means language and symbols, whether it's written or verbal. And yet, I don't think that our minds are actually supposed to be driving the bus. I think that what is meant to be driving the bus is all of this that you're talking about, whether you call it your heart, your soul, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. But we've evolved into this species that is very, very mind driven. And the problem with the mind is it can get in the way. It creates barriers. It is so much of the world is controlled by fear mongering these days. We're seeing the results of that everywhere. And yet, when you take the mind and put it sort of in the back seat of the bus, as far back as you can get it to go, it doesn't like it, and you lead from here. Even people who don't have language for it, who've never experienced this before. I've been in, like you, very, very privileged to have been in all kinds and sizes of groups and mentors and traditions, ancient wisdom of all kinds. And it's palpable. Even if people don't believe in it, or they can't, or they're more academic and they're wanting, give me the brochure, give me the plan, give me the map. You can feel it. And that's what fascinates me about the work you do. And it also fascinates me too about how we find ourselves living, you and I, in a place very different from where we started. How did you end up in South Africa, and why do you stay? Is it something on that level, or is it something else?
I came to South Africa in the 90s on holiday, and I loved it so much, and I found it so fascinating that I decided to come and find a job. And beginning of the 90s, I moved to Johannesburg. And it was an amazing experience because I was very naive in terms of what South Africa went through in terms of apartheid and what was happening before the 90s.
And you were here at a pivotal, for people who may be watching not from South Africa, apartheid officially ended in 1994. A lot of changes went on from late 91, I guess, early 92. So you arrived just as those switches were being flipped. Yes.
It was fascinating because, first of all, I was sharing a house with an African lawyer in Johannesburg, and then every evening we had all the the people coming back from exile, or people that were individuals that were called back by Mandela to create a new government. They would come at our place, our home, and we would have dinner, and I would witness amazing conversation and also hear about their incredible life stories, because what was happening before was, for me, I was not even aware of the reality of South African people before the 90s and what they went through. Then for me, it was really a big discovery, and it was really incredible to hear about their experience.
I strongly believe that human beings learn best from stories, and that the only stories we can really tell, honestly, completely straightforward, are our own, right? So what an opportunity, there's an American saying, to be a fly on the wall, to sort of just be up there and kind of watch all of that and hear it. It was the same for me. I came on holiday, and day two, it was like standing on a rock on the Western Cape at sunrise with the woolly neck storks and thinking, this is not a holiday.
How many years ago, Christa?
10.
10
10.
years.
Yeah,
Wonderful,
by the
wonderful.
time this is out, it'll have been 10 years. Yeah.
But in the 90s, I still had to go to the Carlton Hotel in the center of Johannesburg, which was the only place where I could have dinner with my African friends, South
Well,
African
that's
or West
so
African friends.
let me be blatant, but you're talking about people, Black people with melanin in their skin by African. There's, some people don't always understand that. And so it was illegal at that point for you, say, I know you weren't, but say you were dating someone or you were married to someone, it was still illegal at that point. Yes?
Definitely.
So there was literally one place you could go out to dinner.
Yes, at the Carlton Hotel in the center of Johannesburg.
Imagine,
Yeah,
imagine.
yeah,
I just want to leave some space for that because it's been 32 years now ish. And, there are whole adult human beings walking around who were born at the time that we're talking about now. And while much has changed, thankfully, not everything, not everything has changed, but at least that has changed. We can go, because my family is all Zulu, so all Black African, and um, still sometimes things happen. Not too often, and we see it as sort of part of our mission to open up the possibilities for people with something that we accept. And my two daughters and my granddaughters could not be more mine, if they come out of my body. So it's something perhaps that those of us like you to I'd like to think that we help, that you've helped. I mean, that's for you to go and do that back then. That must have been quite a gutsy move.
Yes, I mean, coming from France, it was normal, but
That's true. In France, it was completely normal.
yeah.
Really, from World War II, right? Because that was a lot of the American troops and things. But even before, yeah. And the other areas in Africa that you had traveled to, Burkina and things like that, was it more common there to be in mixed company?
Oh yes, 100%. In fact, I was working in Burkina Faso many years ago, capital Ouagadougou, and there was not these kind of issues at all. All of West Africa was with no issues like that.
So it was a big switch for you. I mean, big
definitely.
And I don't think people, honestly, I think it's much better in Europe, but certainly people in America and North America generally don't have a very good understanding of even the map of Africa, of how many countries there are, of how very big it is, and how the cultures, look, even within South Africa, we're very aware of how different the different indigenous cultures can be. But I think it speaks to what we started talking about was, I think it speaks to that, the shared humanity we have, this, versus the meat suit, as a friend of mine likes to call it. Was there, I mean, look, you've had a fascinating life, and by the time this airs, it will be public knowledge, but we're also starting a book publishing company underneath Odyssey. So it'll be called Odyssey Books Press. So that part of me is like, but why haven't you written your story? Have you written about your life? Because it's
I'm going to write a book. I'm busy writing, in fact. I'm busy working. Yes.
We can talk about that off camera too. And I'm very glad, because I think it's really important for stories like yours to be told. So thank you for that. Yeah. Is there, obviously, I'm very curious about your childhood, because I think our beginnings, have a lot to do with how we end up. Sometimes it's the opposite. I grew up in a very racist household, and obviously things went the other way. But was there a time that you can point to when you sort of woke up, or did you just come like this? Were you raised like this, to be very open-minded?
No, I think it's my teenage years and the young adult years that were not easy at all. For example, I did begin to work at 17 and I carried lots of trauma. And in order to heal myself and to feel better, I turned to to books, to guides, to spiritual writing about how to feel better. And even what may happen after we die. You know, I was investigating from a very young age, in fact, from the age of 13. And those challenges, first as a teenager and then also as a young adult, opened my eyes and opened my heart. It made me grow up, and it's really only linked to those challenges because I had no other choices to to investigate, open my heart, read more, learn more, trying to find how can I release the trauma, how can I feel better, and I'm very grateful for what happened in my life because of it. But the moment that really changed my life, and the one that is where I almost died, and that was in Burkina Faso when I was working in Ouagadougou, and I caught. They still don't know. They say it was an unknown viruses, and
I'm sorry. Yeah.
it was really, I mean, initially we did call the doctor when I was in Waga, and then they called the traditional
Mhm.
healer, and then they called the professor, and then finally
Anyone? Someone? Anyone?
and they flew me back finally to Paris, and they were looking at me at the Tropical Institute in Paris behind windows. They would not come into my room. And that was for me a big step in terms of spiritual development and resilience. And it really pushed me to to go and ask all those healers around the world, what are you doing? And but for this specific case, my I was about to die, and my mother said, "Okay, if you're going to die, perhaps it's better that you're going to come home. You will perhaps relax better." And that was now 40 years ago. And they say, "Okay, you can go back home." And she did call the neighbor that was a healer. And this gentleman came to see me. He puts his hand on my body for 5 minutes and he leaves. And I say, I mean, I was not able to eat or move. I was really, it was the end
Ready
of
to
me.
die. They literally thought you were They brought you home to die. Okay.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes.
And then, and then he goes, but then he comes back the following day. And after 3, 4 days, I wanted to eat and I could feel better. And I have to say, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, I was 90% all right. And then that was now my big question. What are you doing? And this is how I did begin the serious investigation.
I um I am fascinated by this. So I've been through several of these. I was a very tough case. So I've been through several of these, but most recently, a few years ago, I was poisoned with rat poison, and spent 3 weeks in the ICU and coded twice. My organs were all but gone. And they did not, it's kind of like you being behind that glass. I was in ICU, I wasn't behind glass, but they were very clear that they did not know what to do with me. Um, that no one had survived with the blood levels and things that I had. They couldn't find any evidence of anyone surviving. And 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 they kept saying, coming in, all of them, the phlebotomists, the nurses, everyone came in saying, you should be dead. Like this should have killed you. And I'm completely like in and out, I'd fall asleep mid-word. And I finally started saying to them, like, could you say that differently? Could you say what a miracle you're alive instead of you should be dead? So I hear this story over and over, or, bad accidents. I had one too that I shouldn't have walked out of, and someone else I had a conversation with, same thing. And it's almost like that birthing process. You've got the really difficult start, you know, that transition process in birth where you're sure you're going to die, you know, it's just really, really hard. And then you go into the seeking phase, you know, which is like the newborn phase, and you're looking at things completely differently because you can't stay there. It's untenable. It's so unlivable that you can't stay, you know, in that when you have a lot of abuse or, you know, whatever the trauma, difficult situation for whatever reason, or maybe it's a physical illness from childhood, you can't stay there. So you have to go out and look around and ask questions. And, you know, it's like Dr. Seuss, are you my mother? Like, do you know how people live? Then you go through the seeking phase, which can be quite long and for many people is a lifetime. And then, you know, if we're very lucky, we get to do what you and I do and learn, take everything we learned and help other people. What a blessing.
Yes, it's fabulous. It's wonderful to realize that we all have the latent abilities to heal. And when we understand it and when we get it, wow, it's a big revelation.
And when we stop believing everything we're told
Yeah.
about, you know, like allopathic medicine is the only way to go. Obviously, it can be very useful, but you and I wouldn't be here if we had followed that traditional path.
Exactly.
We would never be having this conversation, and we're not alone in that at all. So, I had the pleasure, thank you, of experiencing one of your sessions, and I will say that whether virtual or in person, and COVID made, you know, virtual much more of a thing for many of us. I had been working that way because of where I live and who I work with. But through COVID, one of the good things that came out of COVID is this understanding that we can be in community virtually. This blessed Zoom that we're on right now, which sometimes we complain about, but man, it lets us do a lot of cool stuff, doesn't it?
You know,
Uh,
initially, I was very reluctant to believe that it
too,
would work. I
me
was
too.
like, no, never, it will never work. But COVID forced me. And at that time, I was doing energy transfer to every single day for 2 years. I did it every single day. And then I had people coming back to me and saying, my gosh, my asthma is gone, my sugar level is down. I mean, people were coming back to me and saying, oh, I feel the peace, I'm not stressed anymore. You know, so many people coming back to me and saying, Sabine, even my husband that doesn't believe healing, sitting next to me, he could
But he's
feel
just
it.
in the room. He's not even paying attention. And these are quite short sessions. This is a good place. So we'll put in, you have some photographs you've given us of someone of the shoulder and the arm, and you can see the progression. We'll insert those here so you can see that. Um, the typical, it will bless you, because I think honestly, this is a lot of what healed people from COVID, and that whole thing is a lot of us doing this kind of work. The same thing, I practice traditional African spirituality. I'm seen as a Sangoma. And but I've always been very traditional about it because of the color of my skin. I've always wanted to do things, you know, exactly the traditional way. And people were begging me during COVID, begging me to please do consults online. And, you know, they would set up the old Nkulu, the grandfather, in the hut with the goats and chickens and whatever. And it worked. I mean, who knew? But it works. And I still do a lot online now.
Bless
Um,
you.
Your sessions, though, another thing that fascinates me, because um, it's often hard to get people who haven't experienced this kind of work to give it much time,
Yeah.
or or money. And you know, you're very generous. You offer this for free, and you know, those are just some of the objections the mind pull. You know, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. Whatever. Those are the objections the mind throws out. But these are what, maybe 20 minutes or so.
In
You
fact,
want to explain
energy
how
transfer.
they, you want to just take us through how a session goes so that people understand?
um, people are logging in into the Zoom link and meeting. And we usually begin with a short meditation or some affirmation linked to peace, to health, to well-being, just to relax before the transfer of energy. And that is at 10:20 South African time every Monday and Thursday. Then I think it's also important for all of us to be together to pray to all our friends and some individuals that are suffering from very serious pathologies. That means during this session, I also give the names of all the people that friends, family members of the participants,
So
or
people submit those to you beforehand.
but we only take very serious cancer, AIDS, serious pathologies, and then they're on the list, and then the whole group. And we are between 50 to 150 for each session, people, and we pray for them, and we send them love and compassion. And it's really wonderful to know that there's a group of people praying for each individual on the list. Then that takes 7 minutes, 8 minutes. The whole process, it's short, and my own transfer of energy is only 3 minutes. That means it's a very quick, you don't need to 45 minutes of your time. Usually during the 3 minutes, I ask the participant to keep the eyes open and to really breathe normally, relax, let go of all the expectation. That's the most important.
Mhm.
Let go of your
And
expectation.
objections, and
Yeah.
objections as well.
Try not to have your mind wandering everywhere. Just be in the present, be in the now. Keep your eyes open, and then I transfer energy for 3 ridiculous minutes. And then there's some of them feel, some of them can cry, some of them will react and be a bit surprised of the process, because you need a very open mind to believe that this lady sitting in Cape Town, South Africa, is sending energy to this wonderful woman in Canada, in Morocco, in Algeria, in France, in England, and all over the world. Then you need to have an open mind to
Through
believe
this
that that is,
device we call Zoom, through the internet, through, yeah. And it
but it's
feels,
the
it's amazing. I mean, it feels, I think the order of things that you do things in is really important. It felt really right to me, the way the series of things works. So by the time you get to those 3 minutes, your heart is already open. Your breathing has slowed. You're aware that you're in some sort of container or a space that's different than what you're used to. Obviously, this is my thing. This is my cup of tea. So I don't have any objections or anything like that. But I think even for those who aren't that way, it's palpable. You can. I think, and one of the reasons that I wanted early on in this new leg of Odyssey's journey to introduce people to your work is that I think this is a really lovely starting point. I mean, what do you have to lose, really?
exactly. And it's
20
three
minutes
minutes
of your
because
time?
people, even for the 3 minutes, they even at work, they will just take 5 minutes to relax and do the transfer of energy. I mean, those who are coming regularly, they do the transfer of energy, busy driving in their car, or it's convenient. You
You
don't
can, no
need.
matter what. It's not like meditating. Like I'm always telling them, okay, don't meditate in your
Yeah,
car. It's
yeah.
not. You're just receiving. And that's the other point I wanted to bring up. Thank you. Is how much do you think of how people well, I'm trying to think of a better word. I think that people need to the key in all of this is that you need to be able to allow that, to align with energetic things, that you need to be able to allow them. And I think your process allows people to allow, to use funny English. What do you
Okay.
think? That seems to me, if people keep it, if they have walls up, that would be the barrier, maybe.
It's very interesting because now having thousands and thousands of people that came to the transfer of energy, those
Because
are
you've been doing this for how many years now? Five?
5 on Zoom, five
That's a
years.
lot of sessions. 5 years daily
It's
in that case.
yeah, I think I stopped counting at
Oh,
75,000.
it's thousands. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
you
thousands.
know. But um, what is interesting is that sometimes the people that are with the participant, either because we have hospitals coming in
I saw.
with
I saw.
patients and doctors,
Well,
and those patients, not really open through the process. They don't know what's going to happen, or they're not curious, or they even not interested. However, it's through the experience that they will open their mind and then heart. That means when you say you need to be open, sometimes it takes people by surprise because they're just busy working next to a participant or a family member. And then they stop and they go, my gosh, I did feel something. What is it? You
and
know,
then do it again to make sure that was what they felt. And they do it again and they feel it again. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe. So then they come a third time.
you know, so many husbands are teasing their wife, saying, oh, your
For
stories, oh,
silly little.
but when they realize that there's no more ankle pain and they can run again because they're just sitting in the office next to the computer when the wife, does the transfer, then that opens mind and hearts. And it's really wonderful.
I so much of this, I've said this in these conversations several times, but I think it's really true. So much of whether it's this kind of work or astrology or you know acupuncture or all kinds of things, it all of these systems are things that our minds have created to put words on something that truly is wordless.
Yeah.
That is it's this big amorphous kind of thing that you can't contain and you can't, lifelong photographer and draw, you can't. I can capture light but I can't capture energy. uh, and as try as we might, I don't think anyone's ever, I don't think we're meant to. I don't think we're meant to be able to capture it. um and yet it can be felt.
I've got beautiful pictures showing before and after the transfer
I had
on
those.
the
Yes, you do.
beautiful. I mean, where we can see the immediate impact of the before and after. And we did pay someone that came with the special camera, and she did the transfer of energy before, and then literally 30 seconds after on the same individual.
Got it.
And she was herself super surprised. She said, my gosh, normally it takes 40 minutes, an hour to really see the energetical body around a person, taking it and being impacted. But in what you do, it's immediate. And the pictures are really talking. It's really, that is also for me a proof to show people, look what's happening in your energy field after a transfer of energy.
And for so many of us, we want science. We want proof. We want, our brains want to see all that. So I'm glad we'll add those in here. And then I've asked you, and you've agreed, I think, to do a print article for us for the magazine issue coming up in March. I want to thank you for the work that you do for all of us, and wish you very well with it. I hope that you'll continue to do this. And I think what may seem like something small and short, this is such a portrayal of how big the results can be, how big the impact can be, in the very simplest of ways. That what people call the woo, or that stuff that people talk about. It doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be strange. It's certainly not painful. Um, and honestly, I hope everyone who sees this or reads your article will try these sessions with you, because there's no risk here. There's none. This is the perfect entry point. So if people are curious, I'm glad
Thank
you
you
gave
so
it.
much for your kind work, Christa, and thanks for doing such an amazing work for South Africa. And thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's all. I look forward to talking with you more soon.